All right, so the first conic that we're going to be looking at is the circle. Okay, this is the simplest one to look at. So to begin with, we're going to take a look at the standard form of a circle, which is written right here. So x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared is equal to r squared. So the center of the circle will always be at the point h and k. All right, and then the radius of the circle is always going to be equal to r. So basically, when you're looking at your factors right here, just like with any factor, you're going to take the opposite of it. So since this is a minus h, the center of the circle would be at a positive h. And since this is a minus k, the center of the circle would be at a positive k. But say these were both positives, then the h and k would both be negative. So just take the opposite of the factor, okay? All right, so let's take a look at this first example here. So it says to graph each equation and also find the x and y intercepts. Okay, all right, so if we want to graph the equation, we just need to start by finding the center and the radius, okay? Well, if we think about this equation here again for a second, the center is going to be at the point h and k. Well, on this one, there is no plus or minus h, there is no plus or minus k, which means that those both have to be at 0. So the center of our circle is just going to be at the origin at 0, 0. Okay. Now the radius, we just take the square root of whatever our constant term is here. So in this case, the square root of 4 would give us a radius of 2. Okay. All right. Now, the other thing it asked us to find were the x and y intercepts. So let's go ahead and find our x-intercept, which we would just want to plug in a 0 for y. So we would have x squared is equal to, x squared plus 0 squared is equal to 4, or x equals plus or minus 2. And then our y-intercepts, we have plug in a 0 for x, so 0 squared plus y squared is equal to 4, or y equals plus or minus 2. Okay. All right, so if we go ahead and graph this, we have our center at 0, 0. And we know that we have a radius of 2, so from the center, you're going to be going out 2 units in every direction and plotting a point. Now, really, all you need is 4 points, basically the top, the bottom, the left, and the right, and then if you can eyeball a circle pretty well, you'll be fine. The x and y intercepts can certainly be helpful in helping you figure out those points, though. So in this case, these give us pretty much all the points we need, because our x-intercepts are just at positive and negative 2. So, and I'm just going to say, oops, I'm just counting by ones on this whole graph. Okay. All right, so we have our x-intercepts at plus and minus 2, and we have our y-intercepts at plus and minus 2. Okay, now that makes sense as well, because if we have a radius of 2, the same from the center, we go 2 units to the right, plot a point. 2 units to the left, plot a point. 2 units down, plot a point. 2 units up, plot a point. Okay, so then just sort of eyeball your circle here, and you're good to go. So that's going to be our graph, and we have our center, our radius, and our intercepts. Okay. All right, so part B here, same idea. So we have x plus 4 quantity squared plus y plus 2 quantity squared is equal to 25. All right, so again, if we think about the center of this, the center is at h and k. So with an x plus 4, that would put our center at x equals negative 4, the opposite of the factor. And with a y plus 2, that puts our center at y equals negative 2, again, the opposite of the factor. Okay. And then the radius is just the square root of our constant term over here. So square root of 25 gives us a radius of 5. All right, then x and y intercepts. Let's find our x-intercepts first. So plugging in 0 for y, we're going to have x plus 4 quantity squared plus 0 plus 2 quantity squared is equal to 25. All right, so that's going to give us x plus 4 quantity squared plus 4 is equal to 25, or x plus 4 quantity squared is equal to 21. Take a square root of both sides. So x plus 4 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 21. And then if we subtract the 4 over, negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 21. So our x, if we plug these in, so negative 4 plus the square root of 41 gives us 2.4. And then negative 4 minus the square root of 21 gives us negative 8.6. Okay. All right, and then y-intercepts. Plug in 0 for x. Okay, so if we plug in a 0 for x, we would have a 4 squared here, which would be a 16, plus y plus 2 quantity squared is equal to 25. Okay, we would want to subtract the 16 over. That would give us a 9, and then square root both sides. So y plus 2 equals plus or minus 3, and then adding the 2 over, let's see, so 3, or subtracting the 2 over, excuse me, so 3 minus 2 would give us a 1, and negative 3 minus 2 would give us a negative 5. Okay, so let's go ahead and start plotting some points here. So first, I'm just going to say counting by ones on my scale, just to keep it simple. All right, so our center is at negative 4, negative 2. It's right around here. And we said we have a radius of 5 on this one. So with a radius of 5, we can basically just count 5 units out and plot some points. So from our center, we can go 5 units up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we would get a point right here at negative 4, 3. Okay, and then again from our center, 5 units down, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units down would give us a point at negative 3, negative 7. Okay, from the center, 5 units left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would give us negative 9, negative 2. And then from the center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right gives us 1, negative 2. Okay. All right, now if you want to go ahead and plot all of your x and y intercepts as well, you certainly can. But honestly, as long as you have the 4 points and you're pretty good at drawing a circle, then you really don't need to add these additional points on here. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw it with what we have. I can draw a fairly decent circle. Okay, so we get something like that. That's our answer. Again, if you feel like you could draw it more precisely by plotting your x and y intercepts, you can certainly feel free to, but I'm happy if you just want to plot those 4 points. Okay. All right. So I am going to leave example C for you guys to try on your own. Let's go ahead and look at example 4. All right, so this one says, write the equation of the circle with its center at 2, negative 5 and a radius of 3. So center at 2, negative 5, radius of 3. All right, well, we said the standard form of a circle was x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared is equal to r squared. So basically we just need to plug in the pieces. All right, so this is giving us our h and k, and this is giving us our r. Okay, so this is h and k, and this is r. All right, so since h is positive, it's still going to be a minus, so x minus 2 quantity squared. And since our k is negative, it'll be a y plus 5 quantity squared. And then 3 squared is equal to 9. So that is our final answer. Okay. All right, guys, so I'm going to end this video here. So in the next video, we're going to start looking at the general form for the equation of a circle, and this is where the completing the square is going to come back in.